That's a bit too fast there, buddy. Hi! It's us again.
Yes.
I'm Anahí.
I'm Allie.
I'm Carine.
And this is Bilbo.
Bilbo Baggins.
Our official mascot. And happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
If you're a human with children, happy Mother's Day to you.
You're badass.
You're badass. Thank you so much for raising the next generation.
Yes.
That is very impressive. I
Couldn't
don't know
be
that
me.
I could do that.
No.
It could not be me. But
Will not be
wow,
me.
you're doing it. What a day to celebrate you.
Yeah.
You're still alive and killing it.
Hopefully.
And not killing your children.
Hey! Which is the entire purpose.
Yeah.
Raise another
Sorry, that got
person
dark.
all the way up to adulthood. Yeah, I mean, I have a dog and it's hard enough. I could not even imagine how hard you're doing it.
I can't even take care of myself properly, so...
Sometimes I forget to eat lunch. You know?
I fully skipped breakfast this morning so that I could finish making this.
100%, yeah.
I make good choices.
Some
Mommy, I need you. Mommy, I need you. Mommy, I love you.
Do you remember like being like a tween and being at like one of your first parties and just texting your mom like, oh my god, Mom, I'm overwhelmed, come get me?
No. I didn't have a cell phone.
I didn't have a text or cell phone.
You didn't have a cell phone?
No.
Nope.
How did your mom let you out of the house without a way to communicate with you?
They just did.
Was that just my mom?
I think it was just
It's
your
just
mom.
your mom.
We had to be home before the street lights were
Yeah,
on.
100%.
Or we were going to a friend's house and we had to call them from the friend's house.
My first phone was literally one of those like indestructible Nokias. We all remember the ones.
With
And
the
it was
snip
like
cane.
it was with a what do you call prepaid
Yep.
like
Yeah,
$10 card or whatever, and it was like in case of emergency.
Yep.
I don't want to hear this phone unless it's an emergency.
Yep.
So
That's hilarious. Thank you, Mom, for giving me a way to communicate with you because I did often get overwhelmed or, overstimulated. I was like, Mom, pick me up. Sometimes as an adult, I'm just like
dear.
at work and I'm like, Mom, pick me up. I want to go home. Ah, man, I'm 36 almost, so
We all need our parents.
you don't grow out of that.
no, I don't think so.
But welcome! Thanks so much for joining us again. We have a really interesting topic for
today.
you
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
One
It's
that's
kind of a follow-up to our last
A little bit,
video
yeah.
like this.
It's a nice
a
little
little bit.
segue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that this one's really close to all of us.
Mhm.
And maybe one of the biggest reasons why we get along so well.
We're very much of a similar mind on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the concept of slow making.
Yeah.
And making with the purpose of incentivizing and, activating the local economy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that the three of us really connect on
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
a lot. And so we have three big topics for you today. I want us to talk about how we are determined to buying intentionally, making intentional purchases.
Going forward.
Going forward.
I'm not always subscribed to that narrative.
That's right.
When it comes to
Whenever you can and when it's available to you.
Yes.
Yeah, and progressively. Don't hit yourself.
It's a journey.
Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself. We're also going to talk about like why we even would make stuff instead of just buying them.
Yep.
And finally, once you do make and have stuff that you purchased intentionally, fix it, mend it, and take good care of it.
Mhm.
Right?
Extend
So-
its lifetime.
Yeah. So let's get started with.
Yep.
Let me get my knitting out. Let's get started with probably the biggest topic, which is intentional buying and slow purchasing,
making.
slow making and slow purchasing. I feel like it's very easy, at least for me, to get sucked into like the social media and the marketing of it all, and I'm often very easily swayed by promotions and by like.
Well, we live in this culture of instant gratification.
That's
so anytime you could want something, you can immediately go onto the internet, order it, and then depending on where you're getting it from, it can be delivered within 24 to 48 hours. Like every possible whim you could have can be fulfilled so quickly that as a society, we have stopped doing things intentionally because we have been really given the opportunity to embrace that spontaneity, which can be good, but it can also really be detrimental to our attention spans and to our decision-making skills.
And to our wallets.
And to our
Yes,
wallets.
and the problem is also because a lot of those ads and publicities are now targeted at you based on research done on you or your friends on,
The
you know, like what the algorithm. So it's literally catered to your wants, not even your needs at this point. Just something you've mentioned in passing, and then you wonder why. Like 2 days later, all of a sudden it comes on your feed. You're like, what? So it's even harder because it's not just random ads. It's ads that are catered for you personally because they want you to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many interesting things that are coming up that are being made available to us. It's no wonder we want to just keep starting new things all the time and like churning out projects because you just want to get to the next new thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not surprising.
On that note, do you also feel like me when you're watching other makers online, feel a little bit behind? Like I'm not going fast enough. I'm not turning out these shirts and these like dresses fast enough, and I can't keep up with the new sock patterns that are coming up seemingly twice a week.
I did it first. I did feel a lot of, I don't want to use the word shame because I don't think that's the correct one, but I felt like I was constantly having FOMO for new patterns and new yarns.
Yeah.
That I was behind the curve on what was being made, and that like my closet of makes did not match with my love of knitting, right? Because you see all of these like designers, prolific designers who are churning out garments and things so quickly, but
Which, by the way, is not a commentary on
No.
the speed that these designers are doing that. That is literally their job and
they have more
living.
hours in their day. But what actually really changed my perspective on like the volume of making and why slow making worked for me was that I was having a conversation with a friend, and I had mentioned that I read like I think like a book and a half over a weekend, and that I was like reading a series, and I was like just kind of not speeding through it, but I was churning through it because I was prioritizing my time. I was reading on the bus, I was reading at lunch, I was reading in the evening. Like I was really choosing to spend time doing this thing, and so I was moving through that very quickly. And she was like, oh my god, I can't read that fast, like I always feel bad that I don't read more. And I'm like, well,
why?
I mean, if you're only picking up your book for like an hour a week, like obviously you're not going to finish a book in a week. I spend 4 to 5 hours a day reading if I really want to. Of course I'm going to finish a book in a weekend. Like that's just how it is. And like saying that out loud to her made me realize, but that's exactly what's happening with makers, right?
Absolutely.
Like I love to knit, but I'm not sitting down and knitting for 5 or 6 hours a day like some people are, right?
And all the power to you if that is what you have chosen to do with your time and you
And
can keep your focus that long. Some of us are a little bit neurospicy and we can't keep our focus that long.
But
you
in
know?
recognizing
And we may
that,
not have like the schedule to do this if you're if you have kids.
But
or
that's what I mean. Like in recognizing that like what is my priority to spend my free time and what isn't my priority to spend my free time, it took away that guilt of not producing enough and made me realize that slow making is actually what fits my lifestyle more than churning through projects.
Yeah,
because
right.
I'd rather read 2 books in a week and like devour a series in 5 days, which I have done before, instead of trying to churn through a pair of socks just to get them done.
That's right.
Right? Because that doesn't bring me as much joy as churning through a book does. Like it's all about finding what works for you and what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And it really
Love.
is all about joy, isn't it?
Well,
It really is.
That's what it's about. I think for me, I've never really, I mean, to be fair, I'm still relatively new to the whole Instagram thing and like having things bombarded at me. And I think in a way it helps because I don't really feel any of that like obsession with, if I see another knitter or crocheter having a very prolific, time and doing a lot, I'm happy for them, but it doesn't really do anything for me because at the end of the day, I know that if I were to do that, I would no longer enjoy what I'm doing.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think that the pace I'm doing at right now is what works for me. I think I would lose, and it's the same thing when people tell you, oh, why don't you make money off of this? Because if I start to do that for money, then I'm no longer going to enjoy my hobby.
Exactly.
And that's the point is, I'm doing this for relaxation, for, you know.
I'm so sorry. I just found 2 pairs. It's just I've been using this project to get out the door so that I have my knitting with me, and I just realized I put 2 pairs of sunglasses in there because I couldn't find the previous one because it was already in the bag.
Welcome to our world.
Welcome to our world. But yeah, no, you're so right. And
I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's really just enjoy it, and don't if it doesn't fit, or if it starts to not be as enjoyable, and you start to stress because because you feel like you're not going fast enough, or because whatever reason, the second you start to stress about your hobby, it is no longer a hobby.
You've gone too far.
Which is why it's also okay to put down a project that you're getting bored of.
Yes.
Or something else and return to it later.
That is the one thing it's hard for me.
You have to finish something
is like
right away.
Putting it down forever, or for like 8 months and then go back. Like, I always have this mentality of like, no, you have to finish it.
You're a finisher.
Like, I need to finish it before I start something else. And if I don't do that, then I literally feel bad for the thing.
Well, because it didn't get to grow.
I'm like, you're still there talking
just
to me.
Frozen in time.
Yeah. But honestly, I think it's like a really healthy practice to reflect and see, like, okay, what am I feeling right now with this project? Maybe it got too complicated. Maybe I messed up and I need to fix something, which has happened to me multiple times. And I'm like, I don't have it in me to go through this right now. I'm just gonna do something easy. I'm gonna pick up my vanilla socks again. I'm gonna pick up that like stockinette shawl again, because that will bring me joy. And once my cup is fuller, I'll come back to this. Right? In a few weeks, or maybe I'll forget it and it'll be 8 months, like you said. But I will come back to it. This is why I have such a big collection of whips, because I don't know what I'm gonna feel like in the moment, and I like the option. I need the option of making a project that fits how I'm feeling in that day. And that to me is the whole concept of process making versus product making. I am not doing this as a practical skill that, that my survival depends on, right? I'm not going to go cold or naked if I don't finish the sweater. I'm doing it because it fulfills me, because it gives me joy, because it keeps me entertained, because it makes me connected, because I'm buying wool from local farms,
which is so much fun.
I know it
because
is.
I'm buying yarn from local dyers that I get to meet in person, and while having it in my hands, I feel connected to that network of makers. And
it's incredible how like one purchase in one local yarn store can really impact like your community at large. Like there's a shop in our neighborhood called Kindred & Co. We shop there regularly, and the business owner, Tamara Steinborn, is incredible, because she's very much transparent in how important it is to support small businesses. Because one thing I saw recently that she posted on Instagram was that she was having a big sale, a big jewelry sale, this was a few months ago, in her shop. And in all of the preparations for that, she was like, okay, well, I didn't bring any lunch with me, so I'm going to go across the street to the falafel place or to the shawarma place, and I'm going to get, lunch for all of my employees. So immediately she's putting money into that local business. Then a few days later, after the sale is over, she's back in the shop and she's like, okay, we've had a busy day, I'm gonna go get some coffee. She walks down to the coffee shop, and the coffee shop owner's like, drinks are on us. We had a lot more traffic because people were in here shopping at your store over the weekend. Thank you for bringing people into the neighborhood. Like, it just, one purchase can help drive other businesses to gain from that as well.
That's right.
And it's just so important, and it's to all three of us, that like we work hard for our paycheck, and we want to use that intentionally to prop up these businesses that we support. And in some cases, that means going to our local yarn shop and intentionally buying yarn for that one specific thing you want to make. Yeah. But sometimes that also means following a Canadian yarn dyer on Instagram and being like, I have a little bit of extra cash this week, and she's got a pre-order that looks really cool, and I really like the color purple. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to buy it.
Right?
And it's just like, that's probably a one-person show who's dying out of their garage.
That's right.
But they can turn around and they can invest those profits back into their local neighborhood as well. And it's just, it's really nice. It makes warm and fuzzy inside.
And last time we were talking about these like themed episodes.
Yeah.
We were talking about the like us setting aside a little bit of a gold pot of gold to
the fun
fund to really allow us to unashamedly and without stress fund our craft and our art. And it feels so much better to use that fund by activating the local economy and thus passing along that joy. Like those it brings me joy to buy yarn, and it brings that person fulfillment to sell me the yarn that they made with their hands. Right?
The number of times you see on Instagram after a yarn dyer has had a big sale or they've released a new collection and they've come into their stories after the fact and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. I don't think you understand it. Like, I'm able to pay my vet bills with this.
That's
like,
right.
You all came out to support me and I'm so grateful for that. Like, to see that person being like, you have made my life better by purchasing this one little thing that is soft and squishy that makes your life better.
And they have made our lives better.
How amazing
too.
is that?
I think for me, the biggest thing about like local shopping that I enjoy the most is the human aspect. The fact that you not only do you see, like you just mentioned, you see the effect you have when you buy something, but also you are treated as a human, not as a customer or client. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you're a customer, you're a client, but you're not an order number. Like, if I go to a, like, I'm not going to name any names, but if I go to a big, like, we're talking big chains or whatever, you don't get that feeling. You don't get that, hey, how's it going? Or do you want your order, like your usual today? Or do you, you know, like, there's none of that rapport or connection. Yeah. And that's something that I feel we are losing a lot by going for convenience over like it's a good example to say is like when you go online shopping and you predominantly do online shopping, there's no human interaction. You click a button, things happen, things show up at your door. That's great, but you're losing that human interaction. You're no longer, and it's where I, like in my line of work, it's actually something that I see a lot where we have a middle person who actually does all the interaction between us as the employer and the client, which means I never, or me, it's a different story, but most of the people who work in my field, they don't talk to the client directly. The client is, you know, there's a middle person in between.
Yeah, there's an intermediary.
So there's no human interaction versus where I'm at, I get to talk to the client directly, and just that
you're
little
embedded
difference
in with the client.
Exactly, and that small little difference makes a whole world of difference because they get to see me not as a, in this case, not as a just an employee, but a person that has like a life, right? So again, because it's not all online. So that's my problem with bigger companies or bigger, you know, is that they kind of, they make a lot of money. That's great. And they have a lot of things, but they kind of forget the human person that they're serving.
They don't have the space for it, right? Because the volume of material that they're sending out the door is so much higher because they have the capital with which to produce more, to hire more people, and it becomes disconnected because you have one person who's doing the shipping, one person who's doing the packing, one person who's doing the website.
That's the other thing.
And it just becomes disconnected. And it's not maliciously done that way.
No.
But it's just by virtue of like the size of the company.
And it's not just the human aspect between customer and company. It's also between company and company employees, right? Where you see in a smaller business, the employees and the owners tend to have much better, I'm hoping, much better rapport.
That's true.
Where they actually interact directly with each other versus,
so
you know, like the CEO somewhere in this ivory tower who never talks to any employee or rarely talks to employees that are, you know, like at the lowest echelons.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it takes away from the whole experience, I find. So that's why if you can, like, to me, buying intentionally, that's the biggest part of this is I enjoy the products I purchase, but it's the human aspect of it that I can't get rid of. I just like that. It would hurt me if we no longer had small local shops.
Doing that, in having those person-to-person interactions, I no longer feel the need to like create something quickly and have that show to the world because I've already had the interaction with the creator.
And that's fulfilling enough.
And that's fulfilling enough in itself that I feel less terrible about having the yarn sit on my shelf for an extended period of time? Do I
That's
want to
right.
knit it? Absolutely. Do I want to knit it immediately? Also absolutely. But there's I feel like there's less pressure because
Yeah,
I've already
exactly.
like if you go to a market, like an artisan market or like a Christmas market or anything like that, and you meet the seller and you're squishing the yarn and you're just like, holy crap, this is beautiful, and they're like, thank you so much. They already see that you appreciate the product.
Yes.
Like, yeah, sure, they want to see what you make with it, but they already know that you love it, and you've
Well,
already
that's the thing.
expressed to them that
Exactly.
you enjoy it and that you support their work. Like,
But it's kind of
incredible.
interesting because we are stuck. It's a paradox when you think about it. On the one hand, we love local businesses, like buying local and help, like supporting local designers and shops and everything. And then you buy the yarn and you take your time
Feel
knitting.
good. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so easy to fall into this trap of like buying because it's pretty, because it's nice, because it's everything I want it to be. And then you get it and then you're at home and you have a whole, like array of choices. And then you're back in that mindset of I want to do things faster, not because you want to, make more things, but because you want to get to that pretty yarn over there, or because you want to get to, like the next pattern that you just saw online. For me, I think the only time I have this this little like I want to knit faster, it's not so much for showing off. It's because I want to finish what I'm doing so I can start the pretty yarn or this new pattern I saw. Like my pattern list changes dramatically. My queue
100%.
changes dramatically every time I open
Same.
Ravelry because I'm like, oh wait, what about this one? And then it's like, like things move around. And then there's things that have been on my list for like ages, and I'm like, one day I'll get to them. And it's and it's really so it's a weird balance between slow. Taking your time and like I want to do everything because I need to do everything before I die.
And that's the joy of shopping from your stash, because you have the supplies already, that when you are in that brain space where like this is the project you want to make, it's there.
Yes.
You can
take it.
set it up, get it ready to go.
Yeah.
And then boom.
And I think a really good tip that I can give you guys is when you're organizing your stash at home, in order to make it easy for you to shop from it and slow down, is try to stock it or like save it by project. So what I've done in the past that's been really successful is I've gotten the yarn that I want with the pattern that I want and the needles that I'm going to use in a project bag, and that goes into my yarn closet. Yes, I do have a yarn closet. And so that way I have everything ready to get started when I decide to pick that project up.
And then if you don't have a specific project, you can just organize your stash by like either color or weight.
By weight.
I think weight would be
I have all of my garment quantities together.
Okay.
Right? And they're all, so I've got like in terms of heaviest weight across to lightest weight, they're all together. And then below that, I have all my single skeins and like sock skeins and things like that. But I've also kind of organized them by color groupings, in the sense that I'm like, okay, these three colors together would make a great shawl. I'm going to put them on the shelf here together.
And that's fun.
Because
organizing them is
exactly.
fun.
Well, it is, because at the end of the day, it's almost like you're shopping.
Yeah.
And also for people like me who have problems with object permanence, it's a great way to like see what you have and remember, oh, you have this. I unfortunately do not have a bookshelf of yarn yet, but
not yet.
Yes.
She's got the
Yet
yarn,
is
just not the bookshelf.
Yet is the keyword. I have them in bins. Well, one massive bin. And essentially, once in a while, I take the bin out, and then I'm like, oh my god, I have this! And then, like, I know what they are. I even have a freaking Excel sheet with all the...
Oh, an inventory. Very nice.
Oh, yeah. It's and I just updated it, like, this week, so it's on point. But it doesn't have pictures of it, so, like, sometimes just touching it, seeing it, feeling it, just goes like, oh my god, now I understand like what I've been missing. And it's actually a great thing to do before you go, like we mentioned last week, before you go on a festival, to remind yourself that you have a lot of things. You do not need 50,000 more skeins, or do you? But
it just means that we have the chance to find joy in our stash multiple times.
Yes,
because we can return to it again and again and again. And be like, I'm going to make this shirt. But in 6 months, be like, actually, no, I think I'm going to use this as color for a sweater. It has this, like, flexibility to it that you don't find in fast fashion.
And that's an excellent segue for the next point I wanted us to make, which is, why would we even bother to make something so slowly with such effort when we could just buy a sweater ready-made?
First of
all,
you
just hit it in like the nail in the head.
Yeah.
It's because it's fun. It's because it's good. It's because it brings us personal fulfillment.
Yep.
If
And
you're
every step of the process is fun to us.
if you're anybody who does any type of crafting where it's a slow process, and that includes like jewelry making, gardening, sewing, anything where there are, you know, like steps to take, and it's like it's a process, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like easy peasy. Watching it grow, like I'm talking from a gardening perspective right now, but like watching it grow. In this case, it'd be like watching it grow
Watching it
1
grow.
inch at a time, like one stitch at a time. There's something so empowering and so fulfilling about doing
That's
that. Like,
right.
like I always
The
give this example.
satisfaction.
I always give the example of, so when I was a child, my mom had a garden in the backyard, and I must have been 5 years old. And every time I would go in the backyard and steal carrots. That was my thing. I loved the carrots. I started my garden because I love carrots. And
Cute.
I can eat carrots from a grocery store. They'll be fine. But there is nothing on this goddamn earth that is better than eating a carrot from my own garden that I just took out. I didn't even wash it yet. I don't care. That is the best taste to me, because not only is it from my garden, so I know exactly what I've put on it, like you know where it comes from, but also I've watched it grow, and I've been patiently
nurtured
waiting
it.
for like 90 days for this thing to
That's
like
right.
get ready.
Maybe not so patient.
So
Maybe
not so
not so
patient.
Maybe impatiently
But there is
waiting. Well, waiting
that
nonetheless.
there's
Yeah.
that joy of like, this is
I
mine
did
that
that.
I
did
made,
that. I made it.
and now I
did
get
that.
to appreciate the
Yeah.
gift. In this case, it's even better because
Yeah.
you get to wear it, and you know, over and over and over.
And people will ask you, "Oh my God, that's so cute. Where'd
Exactly.
you get it?" And
you get
to
compliments. I
I
made
did
it.
say, "I made it."
Oh my
I-
God! The first time someone says that,
Yeah.
like says this is so beautiful, and the first time you get to say I made it
Yeah.
is the most
You ride
I
that
satisfying
high weeks.
thing.
It's really funny because as somebody who's been knitting for like 14 years now, who has made garments and things for so many years, it doesn't, like, I don't think about it as being a big deal when I say, oh, I made that to somebody.
Yeah.
But recently, so once a month, my workplace, my coworkers and I tend to go out for lunch, like on Wednesday. We went for sushi recently. And I'm walking out to my coworker's car, 'cause she's going to drive us. And she goes, oh my gosh, I love your sweater so much. And I went, oh, thanks, I made it. And she was like so taken aback. She was like, no, you didn't. No, really? She just like was over, like, just completely bowled over that I had done it. And I was like, but I just did though.
It becomes normal to
I
you.
wanted a fuzzy blue sweater, and so I knit
The
a
fuzzy
fuzzy
blue
blue. It's my
sweater.
Cookie Monster sweater, my Paloma, and I was just like, yeah, like it just is an innocuous thing to me as a maker.
Yeah.
But then she was just like, oh my god.
Mind blown.
But then, you know, this is somebody who's a photographer, and she showed me this photo later at lunch, and I went, oh my god, that's beautiful. And she
did
was
that?
like, oh, I took it, and I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you know, and she like walks me through the process of how she set up the shot and everything. And it's like, that's something that's so innocuous to her because it's a set of skills that she has honed over years and put into practice in such a way that it is like second nature to her to do that. And I think that's what making has become for us.
Yeah.
It's become a second nature choice that we want to have our wardrobes and our lifestyles be a specific way. And how do we facilitate that?
We
By
make it.
By
literally
making it.
making it
That's
happen
right.
ourselves.
Not only that, this way you get to make it in the colors you like,
Yep.
in the size you like,
Yep.
so
In the
it's really
shape.
made for your body, which is
Mhm.
something that unfortunately most businesses can't do for you,
Yeah.
right? Unless you go to a tailor
Yeah.
or someone specifically making it for you.
And the more you make, the better you get at it.
Yep.
And the more
Yeah.
choices you have for yourself. Like, now I'm getting really comfortable making modifications
Yeah.
to ready-made patterns, right?
And-
So, like, well, I know that this is not going to fit my hips,
Mhm.
but I know how to make hip increases.
And
or
if-
I know how to do bust starts.
and
I
if
know how
you're,
to, you know, like...
Yeah, and if you're if it's your first time for you, or you're not sure how to do that, the best advice I ever got was, and it's the same thing for sewing, was get a sweater or a shirt that you really like in your own
And
wardrobe.
look at it.
You
And
like
take
the
those
fit,
measurements.
Uh-huh.
and take the measurements of those, and
Yeah.
then you're already halfway there, right?
Yeah.
So
And
it's,
exactly.
I
it's a
don't
very easy.
I don't think we've touched on yet or really consciously appreciate as well the value in creating things specific to your body
Yeah.
in terms of mental health. There are
It's
several
also self-image and confidence.
there are so many incredible makers on Instagram who have been very open about the fact that they have body dysmorphia, and that in learning to create their own clothing, their own garments, their own undergarments, whatever it may be, that has been an incredible radical act of self-love for them. And it's just this beautiful thing that you can do for yourself. And like, I am a person like anybody else who has self-confidence issues when it comes to my body. Like, we're women in society.
Do. People in society.
I mean, seriously,
it's inherent.
I don't know a lot of people who don't have problems with, you know.
But in being able to make garments that highlight parts of my body that I'm confident in,
and that you love,
and that I love to wear, I feel less fear and shame about those parts of my body that I don't necessarily love the same way. And it's just,
and I would encourage everybody to think about your bodies as something to decorate and celebrate.
Yes.
Yesterday we were thrifting, the three of us, and we were at this beautifully curated shop. No shade to the shop, absolutely great business. There was nothing there that would fit us.
Yeah.
There's probably like 2 things off the racks that they had that maybe might have fit us. Everything else was like a medium small, extra small, and like what apparently seemed toddler size.
It was disappointing.
It was so disheartening to go through the racks and be like, oh, that's so pretty. Oh, it's a small.
Yeah.
No way my big booty is going to fit in those pants. And the one pair of pants that I found that was actually my size and actually my taste was about $100. And I was like, I can't.
But on that vein, though, it is nice now that as we learn to sew, we can see these things and be like, they don't fit as they are, but with a couple of tweaks,
alter them.
I can make it fit.
That's where I want to get to a point where, because I'm not like,
fast
comfortable.
fashion has its place.
It
does.
Fast
fashion has its place. It is affordable. It is accessible, and it is polluting, yes, but it has its place in our society.
And it fits, it fills a really needed gap to keeping people clothed.
I think at the end of the day, it's not so much to ban fast fashion. It's to be more conscious of the choices you make, so that when you buy a pair of jeans or you make a sweater, or like, you go more whenever available to you, go more for quality and things that will last you longer.
That's right.
And that will feel good. But if like, you don't have to do that for every piece of clothing you own.
No.
And like, also, I think, I don't know if maybe, yes, I think this is a shared experience. As a woman in a body, my shape and weight and, you know, like my proportions change and ebb and flow so
throughout
frequently,
the day, let alone throughout
so
the year.
often. And so I am now able, with the skills that I have honed through years of making slowly, to alter my clothes so that they continue to fit me as my body changes.
Just so we can mention, because I'm obsessed with this word, making things slowly, we're talking about slowfluencing.
That's right.
#slowfluencing.
#slowfluencing.
And I feel like this needs to be something, because it's such a good way to see this.
Yes, absolutely. Find inspiration in social media and in like,
but you don't
TV
need
and
to
movies.
make this.
But you don't need to buy
all
every
the time.
week.
Yeah, you don't need
to replace all your items once they don't fit anymore, or once they're out of style. You can slow down, alter them, mend them,
which
fix
is a great way to go to next point, the mending fixing, because the best part of mending fixing for me is upcycling.
Ooh,
when you get something like or even just an old sweater that you find in a thrift shop, or that you've been having in your closet and you haven't been worn for 5 days, and you just unravel it and use the yarn to make something else. And the same thing goes for clothing, any type of clothing that you have in your closet that you don't use anymore as is, but you like, I don't know, maybe you like the pattern on it, or you like the feel of it, you just don't like how it looks on you. Well,
like you, for example, found a dress at the thrift the other day that you're like, I really love this fabric and the way that it fits from the waist down. I just don't like the top.
The top, yeah.
And it can make that into a skirt.
It fit me. It's just, it's not a flattering fit for the top, so I'm just gonna make it a skirt.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that you're able to do that, because your options are so expanded now.
Yes.
You don't have to be bound to what Zara and H&M have on the rack.
Yep.
You can make your own choices,
which
and
is
alter
really
them
nice.
The way you want. And also, I want to encourage myself and everybody to try to break out of this mentality of disposability.
Yeah, you don't
We
have to
are
throw it.
so inherently conditioned to see our items in our clothing as disposable, as like one way wear, as in you buy a coat for that year and that's the coat that you will wear that year, and next year it'll be out of style, so you buy another coat. Well, actually, no. Things are designed specifically to be obsolete, which is so sad. And when you make them yourself, you don't have to subscribe to that concept. You can make them to last.
I have this shirt in my closet that I've had since I was in high school. I am 32 now. I purchased it when I was 16. When I purchased it, it was a dress. However, as I got older and my body changed, I had it shortened and the sleeves brought in and the neckline altered just a little bit. So now it's more of a tunic. And I wore it to work 2 weeks ago, I think. And one of my coworkers mentioned that she really liked the shirt, and I said, thanks, I got it when I was in high school. And she was like, there's no way that you've had something in your closet for 16 years. And I was like, well, yeah, I had it altered so that it was more fitting with what I want to wear now. It was fast fashion. I purchased it at a clothing market when I lived in China. Like, it's 100% synthetic materials, but just in making the choice to have it altered minutely, taking it to a tailor, spending $20-something, it has lasted in my closet for so many more years. And I spent $20 to have it tailored. How many shirts have I avoided purchasing in having that tunic in my closet?
That's right.
How much money have I saved by not purchasing more things?
Well, I like that, the concept of, I think there's a name for it, but when you essentially put a monetary value on a piece of clothing depending on how many times you wear it.
Yes.
Right? So
you break it down by wear.
Yeah, so if you've only worn it twice in like 5 years, it costs
that's
you,
pretty expensive.
It costs you a lot of money. But if you take that same, let's say $100 pair of jeans, but you wear it like 5 times a week, then like I think you're fine.
Yeah.
There's also like something to note here about sustainability, and we really have to wrap this up because it's we've been rambling for a while. But the fact that we have these options now because we have these skills, and you probably have them too or are working towards them, makes it so that we can live a more sustainable life. And sustainable not just in the fact that we are helping the environment, but because technically we are. When you buy less, you're producing less waste, and you're activating the economy in serviceable ways instead of just capitalism. So that's one thing for sure. But sustainable also in the way that you have fewer things. Hopefully you make things to last, and you take care of your items and your clothing for longer, which means that you have less to manage, and you have like less emotions and decisions to make, and that's sustainable in the long run.
And it's also it's sustainability of your mental health
load
as well, right?
Exactly. Not even to mention that when you make things yourself, you're probably activating the local economy, making it so that things don't have to travel as far. Because how many reducing emissions of your closet and your items on their own, and also allowing somebody else who is an artisan or a maker in your vicinity to continue to make a living out of the products that they do. And so really there's such a breadth of co-benefits to making your own things versus buying them that I just don't see a reason not to.
And I think to kind of circle back to like buying intentionally and making things slowly, like you don't have to build up those skills today. Those skills can take you time to build up, and in doing so you can lean into and create and find community in learning those skills together. I have taken sewing classes at a local fabric shop multiple times.
Fabrications, hello! We love you.
Love you. And as such, I have made friends with some of the people that I've taken those classes with, who have since joined us at Knit Night. And that cycle continues. We're learning at the same time. We're building community. It's just this beautiful circle.
And when those skills
Bilbo's getting tired of us.
When those skills are shared in the community, the community itself thrives. So sure, it might seem like a selfish act to make clothes for yourself because you like them and you want them to fit like you
but
desire,
maybe
but
that's a good
also
thing.
but also you're sharing that, and you're
Yeah.
sharing your knowledge and your skills with those around you. And that's a beautiful thing, because it will ensure that no matter what happens, we will continue this practice and we'll survive, you know.
I have a saying that I firmly believe in. This is something that it's like I say myself and to my coworkers and to my friends all the time, and I would like to end this episode on this note, that knowledge shared is knowledge gained.
And that's beautiful.
You're
And
welcome.
so we hope that you will hone your skills and join us in this slow making practice. Don't be swayed by capitalism and social media.
Shop local.
Shop local.
Yeah,
Make for
yeah,
yourself. Love your body and celebrate it by
Mhm.
putting it in decorations
It
that
is a
you've
temple.
made for itself.
Paint the walls.
That's right. Decorate your flesh avatar.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us
Thank
for
you.
Purl Perspectives. That's a difficult name to say. Why did we pick this?
I'm pretty sure it was ChatGPT that did.
Yeah, we blame technology.
AI.
Thanks AI, and thanks everybody for
Happy Mother's Day.
joining us again. Happy Mother's Day, and we'll see you again for another
Bye.
Purl Perspectives.
Bye.
Bye.